So I will make this official that we have met our quorum. So we may proceed with our meeting. And thank you. So I will entertain a motion so if someone would like to make a motion to approve our agenda. It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda?
This additional piece that we received has no date.
It probably does on the sheet prior to that.
Needs to have a. Yeah, I see that. But not on this piece. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna keep a historical record, better put a date and time of that money.
Thank you. Any other any discussion further on the agenda? Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda, raise your hand or say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Second is, so in the annual report are the meeting minutes from our 2023 congregational meeting, and attached to the agenda is the minutes of our special congregational meeting when we approved the call of Pastor John. So we will need a motion and second for those. It has been moved and seconded. And Fred has requested that we amend those to include the dates on each page. Any other changes anyone sees on those minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So I just wanted to make a couple remarks over the year. What a year. A year to be grateful. We accomplished a lot in this year. So in this, so still being in a transitional time with interim pastors, despite that, or because of that, we increased our giving, which allowed us to be in a solid position to call a pastor. We increased our attendance, especially in person. We maintained our ability to do live stream, which broadens our reach of this Westland Lutheran Church community to basically endless boundaries. And we supported each other in times of loss, adversities, and celebrations. That's definitely one of our strong points with this community. And of course, we were able to extend our call, and Pastor John accepted that call. I want to say that we're definitely grateful for the leadership of our interim pastors that have brought us to this position, and how they help to just strengthen our church and prepare us to be in the solid position to move on with our new pastor and his family. So personally, I would like to thank all of you for your attendance, volunteering, supporting each other. All of these things make this community such a welcoming place and makes me proud when I can tell people where I attend church. I definitely have a few thank yous. So I want to thank our staff. And for those staff that are here, if you could please stand. Jack, Debbie, Josh. Is Josh still here? Where's Josh? Helen, are you here? I don't see Helen. Jack does so much, manages, he's pretty much got a hand in everything that's going on here. And we are just so grateful and can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing. Give them a hand. And Debbie, our bookkeeper, does a fabulous job keeping our books in order and keeping us all in line. And Debbie, we greatly appreciate your work. Helen, who I don't think is here, is doing a great job with our choir and working on recruiting and the beautiful pieces that are produced. It just really adds to our services and just our community. So thank you, Helen. And Josh, boy, he just brings an infectious energy and is just looking to expand. Is looking to expand our music ministry. Just last night, invited friends of his to teach us about the Zydeco dance and its origins. And what a fun time last night. So make sure to come to the event in 2 weeks to learn more about the history of the music, and he and his friends will be presenting some songs, and will be another fabulous time. So, geez, and Kirk, there he is. There. So Kirk, thank you for the work that you do with our AV ministry, and you know, you wouldn't hear me right now if Kirk wasn't working. But what he's brought to in helping with organization and getting our services online and getting the script so everyone knows what to say and when to say it. Thank you, Kirk. Yeah, that was what a blessing to have this technology. So we don't need this building necessarily to worship together, though we do appreciate it. I'd also like to thank the council. What a fun group to work with, so engaging, and I learned so much working with this group, and everyone is so willing to get in and get their hands dirty and do the work. So I'm very thankful for all of you out there. And actually, if I could have the council members please stand. So we couldn't do all of the things here in our church if we didn't have volunteers. And so a big shout out to our volunteers. And I'd first like, and when I kind of designate a group, please stand and remain standing. Any volunteers that help in the office, please stand. As you are able and willing. Please stand if you are a ministry team leader. So that's like the quilters group, the creative spirits group, men's group. If you're a leader of any of the ministries here at church, please stand. Now please stand and stay standing, everyone. If you are a member of one of those ministry teams, if you attend any of their functions, please stand. Now, if you enjoy being a part of this Westland Lutheran community, church community, please stand. This is our community. These are the people that we love and trust and help and support. Just as a little heads up, there will be more information coming soon about a capital campaign. I know there was one member who lost some sleep a night or two ago reflecting on this. And so things are in motion. We have done and had an inspection, and we know the scope of work that needs to be done. We're in the process of, we haven't obtained the bids yet to know the actual number, but we will be forming the capital campaign committee. And that was just on hold until we had Pastor John on board. And so we can start moving forward on that. So be on the lookout for more information to come on that. So there's a lot of things that need to happen on the exterior. Some replacement of siding, definitely painting, sealing and or replacing around windows, some of the junctures where the concrete meets the building, technology and mechanisms for sealing buildings has changed since this building was built. And some of those older methods are failing. And so it's time to do some of this delayed maintenance and just upgrading some of the structure of the building. So it's a large project. All right. So at this point, we will, I'd like to pass the mic to Pastor John for his comments.
You don't even have to pass the mic. I have one attached to my face. So let me wax poetic about the time that I've been here for a little over a week. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where, hey, you're going to start and here's the annual meeting. So it's good stuff. Yeah, so it's been a little over a week. I've unpacked some boxes. It's still chaos incarnate in my office, but it's homey. So, I mean, I'm just really excited. Kind of what I tried to embody in the message today was we are getting into some really exciting new beginnings while bringing forward our things that we are excited about and have created this great legacy of a little over 60 years now, right? And that's one of the things that, hey, maybe we'll talk about having a 60th anniversary plus one to really get us into this new beginnings, talking about capital campaigns, different projects around the building, projects for ministry. We just have lots of opportunities here. And a lot of that is due to the faith and the consistency and the trust and confidence and relationality of being here together in this place as this people. And that's great. And I personally am really looking forward to getting to know more of you and more of you better. So, one of the things that I wanted to put out there is an invitation to invite me to get together with you, either individually or as small groups or into the various ministries. Those ministries, I mean, I'm just going to show up. It's nice to have an invitation, but as the pastor, I'm just going to show up and hopefully that's going to be okay. But I like to know what's going on. So, yeah. But yeah, really, I would love to, if you have time, to go and get coffee, go and get lunch, go and come to your house. Some folks are new to the area like me, and I've done for new folks in other contexts house blessing. So whether you're new to your house or have lived there for a while and want it blessed again, not so much an exorcism. That's not what this is about. I'm not into that kind of ministry, but yeah, just say, hey, this is a place where we gather, where we sleep, where we eat, where we have fellowship in the place that we reside. Just one way to get to know each other is coming together in those places in good Christian fashion, where a lot of the early churches got together in houses. So that's a little bit of my thoughts and remarks. What kinds of questions do you have for me? Nothing so far. Yeah, it's early days. Yes. Mm-hmm. No, I like it. Hmm. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So the difference between reverend and pastor. In our tradition, their effective use is somewhat synonymous. They're both titles given to clergy, right? Reverend is kind of more of a uh, uh, title you'll see on paper a lot more. So kind of more of that official title that will go ahead of my name or others' names. But I generally don't go by Reverend Barton. Pastor John works for me pretty well. And I'm in good company, apparently. There's lots of Pastor Johns in the area. I'm learning, and just other Johns in the congregation too. So, yeah, I mean, in other traditions, there's a bit more of a functional difference, and they're used in a bit different ways. But as from my standpoint, you'll see Reverend John Barton a little bit more written and said, "Oh, good morning, Pastor John." Yeah, and it's on my door though, so it's Pastor John Barton on there. So, yeah, very good. Yeah, Kirk.
Oh, hey, there's microphone.
Oh yeah,
back
that's
there.
the microphone back there.
Um, just plainly curious, what is your favorite book of the Bible and why?
Favorite book of the Bible. That's a good question. Top three, sure. Maybe I'll do one from each testament. Um, I like Micah a lot in the Old Testament. Not that it's a far and above any other particular book, but I Micah 6:8, of course. If anyone had to know a verse from Micah, it'd probably be Micah 6:8 to, and what does the Lord require of thee, but to uh, love justice and do mercy and walk humbly with thy God, right? By the way, I am not one for quoting verbatim verses the Bible. Not that it's bad for others. It's just not one of my spiritual gifts is to memorize the Bible. But that particular one sticks with me. And it's nice that there's a song to it actually from camp. I'm not going to sing it right now. But I mean, that verse, but also other parts of Micah. We don't necessarily always go beyond those kind of best known verses, but Micah is a very good one of those prophet pieces. From the Christian Testament, the New Testament, um, I do like the Gospel of John, not just because I share a name, but I find it interesting how John uh, sees those other three gospels and like, yeah, that's good stuff. I'm going to go and do other things over here and tell you other stories that they don't have. So that one's very good. Um, I find the book of Revelations very interesting while also being very problematically used. So it's always good conversation around studying the book of Revelations because there's all this stuff out there about what it means and people know what it means. And whenever somebody says they know what something in the Bible means, it's like or at least have a healthy air of suspicion. And let's interrogate that a little bit. Do we really know the breadth and depth of all of what God means when we come into scripture? I tend to think no. And that's a good thing because we get to keep on learning more and more. And it's a living word. It's not a dead book. It's the living word of God that means something for different people of different times and different places. And God be praised that is true. Because if the book of Revelations only meant one thing for one people of a future time, then why are we reading it? We're not in that time. We're not in that, et cetera. So, and it's important, I think, to not just be focused on one people of one time in one place. It's important, especially with these holy things, to be able to say, look, these writings, they meant something for when they were written, for those reading them now, and for those who will come after and who will look back on this legacy of faith and say, we get to bring forward this wisdom that these other sinner saints have looked at and say, look, we've got some things to prune, some things to hold, some things to expand upon. And that's great. Hey, hey.
Uh, the book of Revelations, was it the last one written? Is that why it's at the end of the Bible? And if so, approximately when was it written?
See, you're testing my memorization type of stuff here. Good question that. And what's really interesting, especially as Christians in the Western world, we sometimes have this temptation to look at the Bible as a history book, right? And generally in history books, you'll start at a certain point and then you'll go sequentially through time. And at the end, it'll be past that beginning point. The Bible doesn't work like that. For example, and I'll get to Revelations a little bit more, but the Gospels, again, you have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John sequentially. But Mark is actually the earliest one. So why is it second? Well, I don't know, because it sounded better. I don't know. Maybe somebody at the Council of Nicaea thought it should be. And so, and what's interesting is, though the Gospels occur first in the New Testament, they are not the earliest writings that we have, right? The earliest ones actually come from the letters, the mail of Paul, right? That's correspondent mail that we're opening to read and have in our holy book. And the earliest pieces of those writings come from Paul, but not the events. The events of the Gospels happened first, but people didn't write them down because Jesus said, I'll be right back. Or so they thought. So they interpreted what Jesus said. They didn't write down the Gospels, this central core of our faith, the acts and words of Jesus Christ, because they thought Jesus did his ministry, died, was risen, ascended, and would actually be right back. So why write it down? Well, and then he wasn't right back the next year or the decade after that. And here are the disciples. Those are firsthand people seeing what happened, and they started dying off too. And oh, maybe we should write it down. And people are in debate on whether it's that John who wrote Revelations, or if it was a community of people writing in John's name who on the island of Patmos. And so essentially, it was not really the last thing written, and certainly not the last one translated and interpreted differently. But it just happens to be at the end because we often interpret it to be of end times. They said, I imagine some monks or some biblical scholars or bishops or what have you thought, how are we going to end this all? Well, we'll do it with some end time book. Uh, and so, yeah, I mean, obviously, the Bible is very interesting to a lot of us, maybe not to everyone. Biblical studies isn't for everyone, but there's really interesting things that we get to parse out and learn through the Bible and through the ages. And like I said, Revelations, there's whole biblical degrees based on that one book, and certainly biblical classes just on Revelations. But also, you have apocalyptic texts like Daniel, the book of Daniel from the Old Testament, the Hebrew Testament. So it's not the only one that talks about end times, and it doesn't only talk about end times. There you go. Okay, yeah, great. Hold, wait. Perfect.
It's more personal for you and your family, but it's a lot to move. It's a lot to move to unfamiliar area and start a new job. So is there anything that we can do to help support you or help you guys?
Thank you very much. Well,
You already have done so much, and thank you very, very much. And I'm going to cry again, so take it away.
um, yeah, thank you for that question and offer, and thank you again for all those cards. I mean, really, how many times do you get to show up to a new job? And here's a literal welcome basket full of uh, verbal written support as well as financial support. Here's a bunch of stuff to go to Home Depot and help out with this new home, a home that is the first time that we have owned a home, and to be able to really, from the deepest parts of ourselves, be grateful and know how fortunate we are as people of our generation to be able to buy a home for the first time. It's very cool. It's I don't throw around the word blessing lightly. It is a blessing to be able to have a place to have our kids grow up and know that they have a place to go, because that's not all of the people in the world, not all the people of our generation, not all the people are able to do that without unduly burdening themselves or their families. So, I mean, we had lots of conversations about how we know plenty of our friends in this country, this first world country, who may never be able to do that. So, yes. Yeah, do it in such a welcoming space of having people, even before we get here. Hey, can we come over and help paint some walls or come and do some projects around? And we remember that, and we will keep it in the back burner. We're still figuring it out ourselves, even a month into this. So, haven't done any painting yet, but that's another conversation. What else? I mean, yeah. How old are how, whenever I'm asked that question, whenever I'm asked how old am I like to respond with a question of how old do you think I am?
Get excited when he gets a gray hair because we think he gets.
That leads me to the next part. If you don't sit down, you were not going to pass a budget. You're not going
Oh.
to get paid.
Well.
No, here's the deal. You have not been through an interview yet, like what we're going to put you through. You have not taken the West Linn Lutheran questionnaire yet.
Ah.
And so what we're going to ask you to do down the road, because there's going to be a lot of hoopla and stuff with you going on the next couple of weeks. We're going to ask you to take that collar off, and we're going to get you as a regular guy, and we're going to find out some questions.
Oh, good.
For instance, do you like apples or oranges?
Apples.
Okay, do you like to sit on the aisle or in the window?
Yes.
What is the scariest animal?
Hmm.
Yeah.
The
So those are the things we're gonna talk
Cool.
about without your caller. So
Okay.
we're gonna get to really know the real Pastor John.
Mm.
So with that in mind, we'll plan something where we can hang out with you and the family and that type of thing. And the last thing is, you live in Oregon City.
Mhm.
I'm proud of you. Once a pioneer, always a pioneer. So don't get caught up on that Westland thing.
Oh, Well, hold on. There's West Linners, there's Oregon Cityers, but we're Lutherans here. And we believe in both and. Um, 32. And how you can help is keep checking back in. Yeah. Another blessing is that we are pretty good right now. And so we're still figuring out what all we need. But one of the things that I've seen other pastors give advice is, hey, you get all this up front and amazing, wonderful, great stuff that is able to happen right up at front. And sometimes pastors need a little bit more help a year in, or 3 3/4 years in, or 7 3/8 years in. We don't know what's going to happen. Kind of like that whole Revelation stuff. We don't know what's going to happen. And it is amazing how I already know the support that all of you here gathered right now and those who have come through those doors are able to support each other and support us. And we thank you now and in advance for that. And I hear we want to get to a budget meeting. Let's do it. Yeah, there's a Super Bowl going on.
Thank you, Pastor John. So the next one is reports from staff, officers, and teams. Most of those reports are in the annual report. I did ask staff if anyone would like to say a few words, and they have declined, so we will move on. But definitely look through the annual report if you have not. Jack, again, did such a wonderful job putting together the annual report, So now we will get to the financial part of the meeting, and we will be, Chris Lord and Nancy Horton and the finance team will be up here to go over the 2023 financials. We will, so to set that off, we'll make a motion and a second for the 2023 financials. We'll have our discussion, we'll vote on that, and then we will do the same thing for the 2024 budget. So there will be two pieces that we will act on. So I'll have Chris and Nancy and the finance team come up and do their thing.
I have to say, Brad and my brothers were really funny putting this booster seat here with my.
Oh, man.
John.
This year. Nancy, so let's go ahead and have a motion and a second, then we can get into discussion, which is all of your area. Does that make sense?
I thought council already created a
Okay.
motion and seconded it.
Thank you for reminding me.
Can we just go with the?
No,
flow
you're
now?
absolutely correct. No, I'm
Okay.
sorry. So this does come from the council already approved and seconded, or the motion, and it has been seconded. So the motion is on the floor, ready for discussion. Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit different this year. It should take maybe less time, but be more of a conversation. I love having all these good friends and folks here. So on the left is Greg, of course, who did the Courageous Stewardship campaign. Woohoo! And your team. Yeah, yeah, and there are others. Chris has been our faithful treasurer for a number of years. Thank you.
One, I'm just finishing one.
What? No way. I thought it was
Yeah,
cool.
no,
Okay.
I've learned a lot.
Oh, man. I am chairing the finance committee overall, and this year we have 2 more active members. We've had just an amazing time. So thank you to Terry and Jim for joining that committee. So the idea is the committee, of course, recommends the budget to the council, but it's a team effort. So I kind of call all of us, the finance team, together with Jack, Debbie, Pastor Christine was real active, Pastor Scott was participating, so many people. So this is a pleasure. So we've been asked to present the 2023 actual financials, and in your book, on the bottom, are pages. So we're going to start in the back and move our way forward. So if you'll go to page 31, that is the report for 2023. The finance committee needed to know what these numbers were so that we could then go through the stewardship campaign and build the budget, and it all came together extremely well. We've, for 2 years now, we have had uncertainty, right? We weren't sure. The pandemic really put a lot of question marks, as we all know we've traveled through. And my overall comment is that I feel like we are stable and we're ready for more things like a capital campaign. And after this year, which Chris will comment on, I'm sure we actually had a surplus this year for the first time in probably 4 years. And so huge, amazing single digits work good, positive single digits work well year after year, not negative ones. But we thought we might have like a $33,000 deficit for 2023. So we came to y'all a year ago and got approval to use our prior surpluses if needed. We didn't need it, and we added to it by 8,000, based on the giving and the good stewardship of all the spending overall. So to just to highlight that, I'd like to ask Chris to make a few comments. One other quick thing. As Jeff mentioned, this doesn't talk about a capital campaign. That means our building fund. This conversation is about our operating fund. There's other monies that are set aside that are just listed out in the report. There's more tables this year. But things like the scholarship fund, all of our special ministries here, we hold money aside. Our outreach monies we hold aside, the pastor's discretionary, the building fund, like I mentioned, all that, there's special buckets of cash for overall. So we're not talking about any of those right now with the votes we have to take to approve the operating financials for 2023 and the budget for 2024. So I just want to put that out there. Now, I know my friends here are going to make comments about some of those things because they're a real big part of our ministry. And it really helps us understand that, you know, money is just the way, the gifts that God gives us to do what we do here. So we always have to say, what is the why behind this money? What does it do? What's the ministry? What's not expressed in these dollar signs? So it's just an ongoing blessing to be part of this ministry here. So Chris, would you like to comment on anything else on 2023 before we ask for the vote?
I think I'll explain how we have our surplus. Our spending, we were very careful with. We didn't need to use the entire budget amounts for the items that we had put money in for. But we also had the PPP loan that we were able to pay off with another, the employee retention. Yeah. And so those monies came in at what, over $65,000. I think we had close to even, at one point, even close to 70, but we paid off what we were told we had to pay off. We thought it was free money at one point, but we ended up having to pay some money back. So we kept that surplus aside to possibly be some seed money for our capital campaign. So that's in another bucket. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you? We had some, most of it's in my letter, but we had some very generous donations made, so we were able to repaint the lines on the parking lot, take down the trees with our talent show potluck dinner that we had. And then also, what was the other thing? The lines are painted. The cross. Oh, we had lots of, oh, and the, there was one more big one that I can't even think of. Mortgage, sorry. So we're very, very, very close to paying off our mortgage, and it will be paid off by April, if not before. So yeah, it'll be fun. So anything, let's see, was there anything else? Yeah, okay. So do any of you have any questions about the budget that we could answer?
2023 financials first.
2023 financials. See, this is my only first year, so I have a lot of coaching, which is wonderful. So.
No questions? One moment.
It's always good news when we pass a budget that's enough to do our ministry, and then we spend what we need to do our ministry and we still have leftovers. That was a really good report. Thank you.
Call for the vote.
Other comments or questions? If not, yeah. If not, I will call the question here. All those in favor of approving our 2023 year-end financials, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We will move on to the 2024 budget.
Thanks, Chris, and everybody for the good questions. Now we're going to turn to page 24. This is the budget, our operating budget for 2024. We've already talked a little bit about how we've exceeded our estimates. We've managed our money really well. And this year, I feel like we've recovered from the pandemic. We have our new Pastor John, and we were so blessed for 2+ years with our interims. And all of this is coming to this budget. It's going to be an interesting year. So we're starting the year with an operating surplus of $44,000 roughly. Okay. And a little bit more to that. We feel like this next year, Greg will comment on the stewardship part, we're forecasting congregational giving to be 5% higher than 2023. And despite the fact we won't have a mortgage payment in our operating budget for much longer, we think we're going to be spending more because we are fully staffed and we are now here. And so we're just happily ready to do a budget that really we hit our stride with our giving. So net of the mortgage payments and with Pastor John's moving expenses in this year's budget, which will, we can talk about all these things. We think we're going to bring in 5% more, very comfortable about that, and spend 14% more. So this year, standing alone, the way we measure things, we feel like we'll spend more than we bring in this year. And so we are going to be asking you guys once again, this will be the third year for us to tap into our carryover operating surpluses of 40-some thousand to break even, because that's our goal. We want to make sure we're doing all our ministries and that we've budgeted well, and that based on the estimates of giving that we're careful and letting God take care of all of that, and that we break even on our operating budget. So this is the new benchmark for 2024 overall. So I'd like to have you guys just put some color on things.
Just the piece too that I was really, as a new member coming in here, talking about, that we were able to give the staff and the people the money to be able to have a raise that was built into this budget as well. So they're getting a raise that's going to take them to above what the Social Security number would be for people that are getting Social Security numbers. So that's pretty exciting to me.
Could you speak to the unfilled positions? Talk about the lay.
There are some positions that aren't filled, but we've plugged those in to make sure that the dollars for those positions, like the nursery attendant, that we really know that we need to have. That's really important, and those dollars are plugged in. For the person that's going to run the leadership for the older children, there's that director type position. There's dollars that are funded for that. We made sure to fund all those programs for the kids downstairs because they're in there having Sunday school right now. That's why they're not here. Those dollars were actually raised, so we put more dollars in there so there was more reasonable amounts of money available to make those systems grow. The whole point that we wanted to grow things.
Thanks, Terry. If you look on page 24, these are the biggest items on our budget, really. Halfway down under that section D, expenses, we have totals for our pastor's salary and benefits, and then a total for the lay ministry. And if you look off to the right, this is the increase over last year's spending. Net for pastors, $2,000, and then $49,000 of our requested $445,000 spending, or 32% increase, we would like to see happen for all of that fullness, including unfilled positions. So that is the huge headline. Thank you for bringing that up for this year overall. The premise on all the other non-payroll operating expenses, given that we won't have a mortgage payment, is that we looked at things overall and we knew that we were underspent compared to even last year's budget last year. And, we kind of wrestled with that. It'd be easy to just say, oh, just carry over actual 2023. But I think we did an excellent job by saying, no, let's at least have a benchmark for the 2023 budget for everything, including faith formation, if not more. And many budget line items, if you study between 2023 actuals, 2023 budget, 2024, you'll see that there are many lines that we have put more fullness into our into those payroll or those items too, the non-payroll lines. Do you guys have any comments within that you'd like to call out within those lines for the budget? Are we doing okay?
Just like we did for the grounds people, we didn't do a good.
Oh, sorry.
With the grounds group is a whole group of people here that keep this place looking the way they do. And we really didn't have that money outlined correctly so that they were taking and using that fund. So they were doing that all out of their pocket. And we said, we need a budget for that. These guys work really hard to make this place be a welcoming spot. So this year there's money for these people when they want to do the things that they need to do to keep this be inviting, to have that money in here. And it wasn't in here before. Quite honestly, they took that out of their own pockets and have paid for that stuff. And we don't want to have that happen.
I think something I also would like to mention is something that we had begun last year and will continue this year, is that the monies that we pay back to the ELCA, 2 years ago, I guess you could say we might have attempted to do those payments quarter by quarter. And there was also the feeling, well, let's also just see where we are at that moment, whether we feel we can honor what we are hoping to be able to spend. And last year we moved over to the idea of saying, we're going to do this monthly and we're going to tithe, we're going to do 10%. And we will tie it to exactly what came in that month. So as our income goes through its motions, as it does, it comes down a little in the summer when there's more people out and about, and then kicks up almost every year. It kicks up hugely in December. Anyway, whatever we're bringing in, 10% of that going to the ELCA, that's our pledge. And we're better committed to doing that when we are doing it just like we all do at home in paying our mortgages or whatever other monthly obligations we have, that it's there as opposed to having that thought of, well, if I've got it, I'll take care of it after everything else is settled. We're committed. And I know that also is helpful to the ELCA, knowing that money is coming in.
Thank you for that. That was really important to do, is those are first monies. So you'll literally see in Debbie's books on page 24, it references our 2023 actual, that first gray bar, total congregational support, 373,000, 10% of that. If you drop down halfway, under expenses, exact same figure at 10%, done, paid, in their hands overall. And I think, Chris, you've had some comments from
No,
the
I think
Synod.
that-
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Well, I think this would be a good point to open it up for questions. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot a big thing. Greg, could you recap stewardship for us? Thanks.
First of all the numbers that you see on those pages in that book, that's you. You are those numbers. You people that are online, the people that couldn't make it today represent what we're going through today. That is our courageous part of this stewardship. I want to thank a couple people on this that work behind the scenes with me to help generate and get ideas on where we want to go. And that was also Pastor Scott Dunphy and then Debbie. Debbie, I really appreciate you and how you share and we grow with that. We're not done yet. Nope, we're not. And that's what's great about this. We get to move forward, not only for 24, but we're going to have a campaign project and go from there. But I just want to thank you guys for taking the time and really studying your own personal budgets and what you can set aside for our mission here at West Linn Lutheran. And in closing, I just want to say, Pastor John, you and I are going to be spending a lot of time together because we've got some work to do, but it's fun. It's a challenge. And also I want to really one more thing. We start this capital campaign, which I'm excited about to take it to the next level. I'm going to need some people that want to hang out and talk about how we want to go about attacking this. So I can't do it alone. And so if you're interested in just getting together and sharing ideas and how we want to go for it, we're going to do it, but how we want to do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, any questions on the 2024 budget? Because I think Jeff will call for the vote and then we'll answer any other questions. Yes.
There was one other comment. I just wanted to bring out that in one of the meetings that Chris was at with the treasurer of the Oregon Synod, he really expressed his thanks to our congregation for our 10% giving. Not all congregations were able to do that, and he said that really helped kind of bolster their budget and to be able to offer all the support that they do. So he wanted that to really be made known to the congregation.
So I had a question about the lay ministry staff. You talked about how it includes even the positions that are not filled yet. My first question was, is this budget including 12 months of all of those positions, or is it, well, we won't hire them till March or April, so really it's 9 or 10 months of that salary?
Is this on?
Yeah.
More details of that. But we felt like Pastor John would want a couple months, but not too long to decide how to do that ministry. So I guess in total, the two positions, the nursery, which is smaller, and then the youth ministry thing, in total, that's about $20,000, isn't it? Something like that. We anticipated a part-time position. So it probably starts in, I don't know, March, April, right after Easter.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if we budgeted for the whole year, so it would end up coming in less. The other thing that I think, and it's not a budget piece, but it's a mentally moving the column or whatever. When Lutherwood paid off our mortgage, we made the statement that we were going to take that amount, whatever the mortgage payment was, and we put it into deferred maintenance. So it's in an account that builds every month. And when those deferred maintenance projects come up, money is set aside for it. And I just thought it might be nice for us to consider doing that when we make that final mortgage payment, to just move that money. It's still ours, but it's just really kind of being maintained within keeping our building the way we want it to be. So.
I think that's a great concept. Thank you for that. And to point out on page 25 under our building and property, besides the mortgage that we had budgeted and fully paid, we did 12 months of payments and then extra donations aren't showing here. They paid down the balance that's not showing. Okay. But over and above that, we have a minor amount of $400 a month, which we began 2 years ago in that same concept to budget for operating monies that keep chipping away at increasing the building fund. It's small. We ended up at 4,800 again this year, but that's an excellent concept for the future. It kind of feels like the capital campaign will flush all that out in a good way and a blessings way overall. But thank you for that, that we were. Right. Totally. Yeah, I think that, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all of that'll be kind of analyzed with the capital campaign. I mean, we did
Yeah.
remember the 360 campaign 360, that was in 2016. I looked it up again, like it was 350,000. And we took a big chunk of that and replenished our repair fund, if you will, in the building fund. So I think that's kind of what you're saying. Make sure that's in a safe zone.
Yeah, once the capital campaign happens, that is pretty much going to, catch us up on deferred maintenance. And then when we look at the budget moving forward, yeah, do we want to have a bigger piece every month so that that is well maintained when things happen, like water heaters? And, yeah.
The other thing to point out, if you approve this budget, we're asking for a not to exceed to tap into our prior surpluses of, where's the number? Let's see, of 25,758. But as I mentioned, we have we have double that in our operating surpluses. So that's what's left, not voted on by you guys, still sits there as cash and an operating surplus that could be folded into the capital campaign and or repairs or other things the congregation may want to vote on later. Any other questions on the 2024 budget? Okay, and
Over here.
This isn't a question, but I just want to say over the years, I've seen this group of people, especially Nancy and Greg, manage our finances in an excellent fashion. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Any other questions?
Debbie, I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything, but do you have any comments you'd like to add? Because you're, a part of the finance team.
I'm not one to be public, that's why I'm downstairs, but I will say coming to Westland Lutheran Church during COVID and watching this beautiful group of people grow, I have to say that I get a lot, hey, I'm behind on my giving, or can I pay this ahead? But what you don't know and that I get to see, and when I see your names and I get to pray for each one of you as I enter in your giving for you and your families and for this church and in my heart. And, I just little tears come because I know some of you struggle and some of you have joy in different parts of your life. I just want you to know that your giving is always at the perfect time. We look and we say, hey, we have a need and somebody will bless us with a mortgage, or we have a need and somebody will give a bigger giving, or we have a need or like a Advent breakfast and then somebody will pay extra for extra people. Your giving is always perfect, whether it's late for you or early for you, it's always the perfect for this church. And it's just amazing to see God working through all of you.
Thank you, Debbie.
I think we're ready for the vote.
All
You wanna take us
right.
through it?
Any further discussion? So it's already been moved and seconded from the council. So all those in favor of approving the 2024 budget, please say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Finance.
Thanks. Yeah. So just Just real quick, I'd encourage you guys to read the rest of the annual report for the non-operating budget things. There's some pretty cool tables that show our outreach, money that came in, money that went out. So we were able to spend a little more time this year because things were so well organized overall. And if you have any questions, ask Debbie, ask Chris, Greg, me, any of us up here, if you have questions on those kind of special ministries. It's a pretty awesome report.
All right, moving on. So we do have two council members that are have kind of fulfilled their duties. And so I would like to say a huge thank you to Tara Shapersky, who I don't believe is she online? No, okay. But Tara, obviously she was our council president for a year. She just did a fantastic job with the council, and she will be missed and will be asked to participate again in the future, I'm sure. And Chris Lord is finishing up her second term on the council, and fortunately has agreed to continue as treasurer, which does not have to be a council position. So thank you, Chris, for all of your work. So with that, we do have two positions for sure that are open, and a third if so needed. So I am going to let Bethany start us off here.
Good morning. I have a couple of folks that I would like to nominate for the open positions. One would be Gretchen Demestri, who by some like unforeseen thing has never been on council, even though she was like born into this church. So it is time, Gretchen. It is time, folks. And the other would be Jack Mandeville. He has served us well, and he is a member of our church now, as well as staff, and I think would have some really great insight to help us as council members be able to move forward. We are still needing one other position. We do have one other open position. That leaves 3 women and how many? 7 men on our right now currently, if we elect those folks. So if there is any female, preferably, so that we can kind of even out our men who would like to nominate themselves for this position. Otherwise, I will be calling you all, so please. Oh, and we have a winner. Yay. Anne Marie would like to nominate herself. Thank you so much.
I will second that.
Yes. So perfect. Great. This is a great time to be on council, folks. We are so excited. We have so much energy, and I just can't even say enough about this council and where they're going. So please think about that as we move forward with our vote.
So we do have 3 nominated, and let's see, so I believe we need a second for Gretchen and Jack. Any second on their nomination? Got a second from Carol White. All right. Anyone else who would like to be nominated? Okay. All right. So we have our 3 positions. So Jack, Gretchen, and Anne Marie. All those in favor of electing them to the council, please say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. So we have 2 other kind of positions. So each year we are able to send representatives from our congregation to the annual Synod Assembly. And Westland Lutheran, because of our size, we are allowed to send 3 representatives. In addition to those 3 representatives, we can also send two representatives that are part of the LGBTQI plus community, two people of color or where their first language is not English, and two youth or young adult representatives. So I am asking if anyone would like to nominate themselves for any of those representative positions. Carol. Oh, good question. Yes, so the meeting is on June 1st, and it is a Zoom, but a meeting by Zoom. Yeah, so you don't have to travel anywhere. You can do this in your pajamas, in the, your own living room or family room or bedroom, wherever you would like to be. Okay, so we have Carol White as one. Any others that would like to represent our congregation at the Synod Assembly? Okay. So those would be our main, our first three, and then we have other groups if anyone else would like to represent any of the other groups. Jack? Perfect. Well, now you'll have a vote while you're there. Any others? Okay. Yes, Nancy. Yeah, so we can send two youth representatives. Yeah, yeah. And if anyone, has interest or would like to suggest anyone after this, please bring it to the council's attention. We can then appoint those representatives. We need a motion to accept Carol, Nancy, and Brad and Jack as our representatives. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, thank you all for volunteering to do that. Last is, we do need a representative to attend the Camp Lutherwood annual meeting. This is generally held the weekend before, or the week before our annual meeting. And Brad Horton was just at the meeting and said it was a great meeting. They've got a lot of things kind of planned. And so that meeting, so if you would like to nominate yourself, that meeting will be about a year from now.
In February, the first Saturday, and the last couple of years it's been by Zoom only.
So anyone like to nominate themselves or someone else for that position? Okay. Anyone besides Libby? Then let's make a motion to have Libby as our representative. All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you, Libby. All right, so right after this meeting, I would like the new council to hang out for just a few minutes. We need to elect our executive committee. And just a reminder to all come next, or 2 Saturdays from yesterday for Joshua's presentation with Black history and music. And I think that is it. Oh, and we can make those. Yeah. So again, this week we've got the Shrove Tuesday, pancakes, all the things that you have to use up before the fast, things that are going to spoil. And then Ash Wednesday, noon and 7 o'clock here. All right. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you all.